Oh.
And it's minority people and poor people that fill these ranks.
Well, we have to look at minorities now. What is a minority now? We're rapidly changing what a minority is. And so,
well, I think minority is a perfect example of how they steer language. And so really minority has nothing to do with the statistics of race and there's another interesting word. Statistics are about measurements of the state. It's not even math. It just uses math for statistics. And so the steering of language to suggest that one group of people is minority, right?
Right.
Is a way to steer our thinking. And so no matter, in the way of the world now, pretty much no matter where you are, if you're black, you're a minority because the institutions seem to treat people like that way, right? I mean, but the minority has nothing to do with... Right, it has nothing to do with the numbers.
The minority,
it's the implication.
I came from Pennsylvania to Honolulu. I have healthy Caucasian.
Wait, I didn't get that. What?
I moved from Pennsylvania, and I'm Caucasian, to Honolulu, which is Asian or Polynesian mix, and I was a minority. So it's based on perception and location. So I've encountered prejudice, but it was both ways. Sometimes they would give me a job or they would give me status because there were so few white people. They wanted to look like they were being fair, so they would, pull me into their group or hire me. And sometimes they rejected me because I was white. And so I noticed, prejudice and reverse prejudice. And I saw myself because I'm in a world where we're a brown or Asian Polynesian mix, that I would hire people or give people a chance because I didn't want to be, on some level, be prejudiced. And I would go another step instead of just looking at the candidate for a job or whatever I was doing based on their individual characteristics, qualities, and whatever I need to, like rent a room or something, or hire somebody based on the job or and step. I'll give them a chance, even though they don't have they have a new kind of flaky job rather than a stable job with a paycheck. I'll give them an extra chance because they are minority. So I found reverse prejudice within myself. I identify as being a liberal and fair and justice and all that stuff. So we're looking at all these factors when you're looking at minority and race and prejudice and everything. It involves our individual looking at where we continue and how do we treat each person. We treat them fair individually and neutrally. Or are we doing prejudice or reverse prejudice?
Return to individuality is what Ethan's saying.
Right.
And get rid of this institutionalized structure.
Right, and merely acknowledging the fact that we did, think in a prejudiced way, which really isn't, that uncommon, but it is also the equivalent of saying, I know what's behind that door, even though I've never been inside this building. And so that just doesn't work, right? Prejudging someone just doesn't work, no matter what. No matter if you're judging them on culture or nationality or any number of things. People are individuals. And that's actually with the Patriot's Guide. I tried to find a way to understand people without having to go into where they're from, what they're all about. And the best way to do that, I find, is to dissect how they react to information.
Mm-hmm.
And so the information may be on fire. Do they ignore the information? In total, right? Do they say, I know all about fire and continue on, right? Or do they say, I want to know more about fire because I can sell this stuff? And that's what I call the elitists. And patriots, which I almost want to rename matriots to get rid of the patriarchal, correlation, because that's what we really need is people all about Mother Earth and liberty, and that'd be a matriot, really, But idiots, zealots, elitists, and patriots or matriots, right, are the four character archetypes as far as understanding something in the political spectrum. And idiots don't want to know, and patriots on the other side of the spectrum want to know it all and will reveal it all. And where elitists just want to sell it.
I totally agree with your fingering the patriarchy as one of the essential problems, because everybody has their light to shine, and once we, as the traditional religious communities tend to diss women and ignore their consciousness, they cheat humanity out of the individual contributions that we can make, and it is this prejudice against women that really put half of the world's population in America.
But the is so balanced. Everywhere you go, men are given credence, and women are, if they aren't going through a patriarchy system and showing up as a woman in clothes, they have to walk the world as a man in a woman's body in order to get anywhere in leadership or in business. So we have a major problem here.
And this, I think, is the reason why the especially indigenous folks of North America used to always refer to the most elderly grandmother for advice on serious issues, because they actually cared about other generations and about others, whereas it's a biological tendency. Men just don't. Men are easily steered to be very brutish beings. And so maybe we should completely outlaw the patriarchy. Not only get rid of it, but outlaw it. Make sure that the eldest grandmothers around are making the decisions.
Oh, that's so right on. What gives men their power is their propensity to violence and their slight greater physical strength, which means anything in this world. I know from the League of Swanee, and they solved it. Could you tell a little bit about that?
Right, and that extends to how every institution enforces the matter at hand, whatever the matter at hand may be, through martial force, right? And so the only way that guys have, obtained power in the world is through punching people.
So the only solution.
So I laugh, but it's horrible.
They do. They punch people repeatedly, and now we're going off to war against yet another faction because yada yada.
Who are we warring against anymore? We're just warring against left and right, and it's this guy within this state, and these guys. It's completely confusing, and it's a total mess, and it's exactly what the oligarchical collectivists want, is perpetual war. There doesn't have to be, in fact, it just doesn't work for them, just like in 1984, for there to be an outcome to confrontation. Just that there is confrontation. which
Yes.
means just like George Bush's banner when he, 6 months into or after the invasion said mission accomplished, well, the mission was accomplished. Billions and billions of missions. Every time you hear the phrase a billion spent, you could also say a billion earned. And so all these war institutions are making, sorry for the pun, a killing off of these perpetual wars. And just for instance, FYI on Americana at hand, there's been 4 generations of Bushes that have been influencing the direction of national policy. And there's been 4 generations of Bushes making money from war.
Yeah, we have to stop beating around the bush.
Well, the Bushes are definitely reptilian Illuminati, so, I mean, and they go back to the, in bed with the Nazis. So what I'm getting is the solution, and of course comes down to the individual, which is, I believe, what you're saying, and that means no matter what else is going on, you have to choose goodness and love and just reject anything else less than that level of participation on the planet.
Lay down your arms if you're in uniform now. Return to your bases and demand to come home.
Well, all need to be Gandhi.
And, people always talk about the cliche of a patriot always talks about the Second Amendment. Well, the Second Amendment, yeah, it's all right. But the First Amendment is first for a reason, because it's way more powerful. It's the prescription for individual empowerment, to keep our liberties and to ensure that institutions don't take liberty over us. And so the Second Amendment is cool, but the First Amendment has got it all the power of the hands, all the power of a peaceful individual comes through the First Amendment. And if you want to see people affected, simply stop. One person in the right place or many people in the right place, stopping changes everything. And I mean, as potentially unproductive as aspects were of the recent protests in Ferguson, there was some destruction and some theft, and that's not proactive for anybody. But because there was protests, now the certain congressional folks are investigating the fact that the police have been using anti-terror weapons to counter protests, and so there's discourse and there's action after these folks took action and stood in the streets and took space, right? But a lot of it, not to say that was all fun and games and was a proactive protest, but nonetheless, some of it worked.
How do we protest as an individual within a global? Is there some kind of protest we can join, like on the internet, or?
Well, I like to think that depending on one's location and skills, we can all do different things. If you live near a nuclear power plant, you could start raising awareness of that issue. For instance, if you live in a city, you could start raising awareness of many issues with just simple paper, right? So it depends on your location and capabilities, but we can all choose where we spend our money. And I am still blown away that people still eat fast food. Hasn't anyone been paying attention? Certainly these people deserve a raise, but who still eats this stuff, right?
Oh,
I mean,
a lot of people.
So we can all choose